Hello, fellow Star Trek Online fans. I am your host, Brent Justice, and welcome to Just Gaming for Us. This is my continuing Star Trek Online, Star Trek Legacy 10th Anniversary Event game news video. In the last one, I introduced the 10th anniversary event called Star Trek Legacy, and we talked about the event being live and some of the new things that are coming, like the big ship lockbox, not lockbox, but the new ship bundle that's going to be coming out, the legendary ship bundle. We talked about how there's a couple of new missions here in the game to play and that kind of thing. I'm going to go over now something a little different. This was actually released a lot earlier. I just had not covered it yet. I'm going to talk about the Borg Lock Box. So that's what this video is all about, just the Borg Lock Box. This was announced, I guess, back on January 24th. And it is live now in the game, so you can go in and get these Borg Lock Boxes and open them for a chance to win the ship and all that other stuff. But let's talk about this, because this is unique. For a long time, people have been wanting to fly Borg ships in this game. People want to fly a cube, people want to fly a sphere, all that stuff. They have not given that to us yet. And I can't really find a storyline reason for why we would have that and be able to do that. I mean, flying a cube, come on. Even in Picard, the cube is dormant and they're taking it apart, basically. They don't fly it around. So it's a little far stretch that we would be flying cubes and spheres and stuff. But there is another ship that we can fly, and I'm very kind of interested how this came to be. They gave us what they're calling the Borg Juggernaut. This was seen in an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, where Hugh came back after we had left him on a planet with a code that was supposedly going to destroy the, well, not destroy, but I guess give the Borg the idea of humanity, or not humanity, excuse me, individuality. And it went awry, and he had his own faction, and somehow this ship just came to be, and we don't know where it was from, what alien species they assimilated it from, or if they designed it themselves, or what the heck. But we saw it in TNG, and guess what? We're going to get to fly it in the game if you are lucky enough to win it or afford it. All right, let's do this. The assimilated comms array broadcasts the message. Okay, let's see. We are the Borg. Lower your shields, surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile. The assimilated comms array broadcasts the message on repeat, diligently following its last directive, even as a tractor beam drags the debris toward the Alliance vessel. The mood there is tense, and the crew well aware of the risk. Understanding of Borg technology is key to understanding the Borg, the assimilated species themselves, and possibly even to freeing them. As a society grows, it must confront the dangers of its own technology. The Industrial Revolution brought global warming, the Atomic Age brought MAD, and today, the services that connect us have splintered us into isolated tribes of alternative facts. The inconvenient truth is that we must adapt or perish. The Borg are a terrifying embodiment of the price of failure. Like a black hole formed from collapsing culture, they are a technocratic singularity, a walking point of no return. They challenge us, so temper our technology with humanity, and to cherish what makes us different even as we grow together. Star Trek is at heart a vision of a positive future where hard social work and brilliant technology have made life better. The opposite of the Borg. And contrasted with other sci-fi, science fiction is often set in dystopia. These warnings are often persistent and valuable, but it is harder to be for a vision for the future than against one. To seek the truth, the guiding principle of which Starfleet is based, requires vulnerability to change. It requires courage and decency in equal measure. When the hard moment comes, what will you stand for? Do you deserve to wear that uniform? Blind to all this, the Lobi Consortium has been contracted to provide you with examples of reverse-engineered Borg technology in specially sealed lockboxes. They make it a point to not discuss details with clients, indicate their cargo is a maximum risk factor. Given our lack of logistical options, we have been forced to accept discretion. Captains opening the Borg Lock Box may find themselves fortunate enough to win the Liberated Borg Command Juggernaut Tier 6. Unlike their collective counterparts, the Liberated Borg have been helpful and open in their communication with the Alliance. One positive result of this communication is the sharing of technologies and starships. The Liberated Borg Command Juggernaut is a vessel with a unique design history. Designed by the recovering minds of newly liberated Borg, its disjointed appearance reflects its designer's rebellion against conformity, while the solid internals reflect a return towards structure to keep one sane. Now, we don't know that that's true. In the episode, it was never mentioned where this ship came from. It could have just been an assimilated ship from an alien species. It could have been stolen. It could have been kit bashed. We don't know. We don't know if the Borg made it. We just know it just all of a sudden existed. The result of this internal conflict is a starship that is a terror in external conflicts, possessing many of the Borg's most fearsome strengths in combat, such as the capability to launch plasma disintegrating blasts. The Liberated Borg Juggernaut comes equipped with the disruptive topological matrix universal console. When activated, the console deals significant plasma damage to several nearby enemies and inflicts viral disruption on them for a short duration, which causes plasma damage and attacks subsystems of vulnerable starships while present. Fully mastering the Liberated Borg Juggernaut grants captains access to the following trait: enhanced nanite regeneration. Regenerative nanites are the core of some of the Borg's most powerful vessels, helping to keep them in optimal fighting condition, and this is no exception. When the necessary conditions are met, this trait will automatically activate, regenerating a significant portion of your hull. Two special consoles can be acquired in the Borg Lock Box. You've got the Cutting Tractor Beam and the Retrofitted Assimilator. The retrofitted assimilator enables your ship to fire a quantum torpedo laced with Borg nanoprobes. The nanoprobes attempt to assimilate the enemy vessel under your control. They integrate the target into its miniature hacked unimatrix the size of a typical command desk, only capable of integrating one vessel at a time. Larger assimilated ships are more powerful. The Cutting Tractor Beam console deploys a retrofitted Borg generator attached to one of their kinetic cutting beams. This cutting tractor beam attempts to harvest technology from enemy ships, dealing significant kinetic damage over time. If the foe ship is below half health, this will tend to reach vital systems, disabling either engines or shields for an extremely long duration. The console's distinctiveness enhancement improves integration with other universal consoles. Each time a universal console is activated, the damage of all universal consoles is increased for a period of time. A new starship trait is also available: Regeneration Cycle, activating at least one each of Science, Tactical, and Engineering Bridge Officer ability within 5 seconds repairs a substantial amount of hull. The Borg Lock Box also has new space and ground weapons inside the assimilated plasma weapon pack. The Borg's preference for this energy type is poorly understood, but the performance of their weaponry leaves little doubt as the efficacy of this choice. These weapons are available as beams and versatile ground weaponry. They replace the traditional plasma burn with an increase in hull or health regeneration and an increase in damage. Rarely, weapon packs contain the Borg Vanity Shield, providing the aesthetics of the Liberated Borg Command Juggernaut to a ship that equips it in its Vanity Shield slot. Captains may also acquire Borg Kit Module Packs. These kit modules are universal and can be used by any class. Assimilate deals physical damage over time to targeted foe and foes near them, assimilating them under your control once they fall. Max 4 targets. These nanoprobes are only able to assimilate humanoid creatures, and some humanoids cannot be assimilated. Orbital Cutting Tractor Beam uses shipboard Borg tech to fire a cutting tractor beam that will chase down your primary targets, dealing massive damage in an area of effect. Fallen enemies struck by the beam will produce a combat buff available on pickup. Collective Will gathers power from allies, then unleashes the current on a targeted foe, dealing electrical damage and disabling the target. The amount of damage and the duration of disable are based on the number of nearby allies. Resistance is futile. Disperses nanoprobes to the ground near the target, where they rapidly repurpose material there into nanotubules. These burst out at foes in the target area, halting their movement and infecting their defensive measures. When they take damage from the ability's user, the nanoprobes activate, massively reducing the foe's resistance to whatever sort of damage was dealt. As this technology is derived from Borg adaptive countermeasures, it does not function on physical or kinetic damage. Adapt creates a tiny defensive screen around each nearby ally to gather data about incoming damage. When an ally is damaged, all affected allies immediately gain immunity to whatever kind of damage was dealt. Only applies to the first instance of damage. Without connection to the collective, this immunity is only temporary, even if foes cannot remodulate their weapons. Borg kit frames. Reverse engineered from the Borg exoframes are also available. They automatically communicate with gear stored on the ship to deploy a Borg combat structure after the use of enough ground kit modules. A cadre of new liberated Borg duty officers is also available to enlist on your starship. They have exceptional active duty abilities that improve various parts of your ship's function. Each duty officer uses a different combination of class and specialty, which influences the nature of their active duty ability. There are 3 different active duty abilities. Free association. Using a relevant class bridge officer ability has a chance to recover the cooldown of relevant specialized bridge officer abilities. Using a relevant specialized bridge officer ability has a better chance to recover the cooldown of relevant bridge officer class abilities. Strength through unity. Using a relevant class bridge officer ability has a chance to grant a stat based on the associated specialization. Commander team-wide temporary hull. MW. All power levels are set to max. Pilot accuracy, temp, damage over time. INT is critical severity. Using a relative ability has a better chance to grant stat based on the associated class. Engineering armor pen, tactical crit chance, science exotic damage. Cooperative computing. Using a relevant class bridge officer ability has a chance to trigger a bridge officer ability based on class. Using a relevant specialization bridge officer ability has a better chance to trigger the same ability. Engineering, oxygen structure, attack pattern delta, and science feedback pulse. New captain's traits are also available within the Borg Lock Box. They are universal and available to all species. Ground is adaptive offenses, improves critical strike chance on successfully critical striking. A third of this improvement converts to a greater amount of critical severity for a moderate duration. This can happen up to 3 times each time all such durations are reset. Ground adaptive defense improves damage resistance rating while in combat. Improvement is divided by the number of enemies targeting you. Space is adaptive offense, basically the same 2 things but in space. There are many other prizes within the Borg Lock Box for players to acquire, such as R&D packs, boosts, and other assorted items. Each box also contains a Borg data core, which allow the user to recover a scrap of information stored within the Borg collective, recording it in a codex for future reference. The data core also contains a non-combat holographic representation of its drone of origin, which follows the player for a period of time. The Low-Buy store also has new items available for purchase, and I like these right here. These are some new Borg costumes. Now these are incredible. This is traditional Borg costuming. This looks great. This looks a lot better than what they had in the game. This is really, really good looking stuff. Sturdy, constructive materials and Borg ablative nanostructures offer excellent protection from energy damage and respectable protection against physical and kinetic damage. An anti-kinetic shield derived from scans of Borg technology recovered by Voyager protects the wearer from melee strikes and hurl the attacker away. The processing power of the gear can be used to rapidly recharge universal kits. So that is literally a Borg exoskeleton armor frame that you can wear. I mean, that makes sense. BATD extractor. An initial basically for biological and technological distinctiveness extractor. This Borg device is equivalent to a compression bolt pistol. It has a secondary fire mode that hits a single target with a high damage bolt of energy that disables them briefly and knocks them back. The tertiary palm strike has been replaced with an assimilate distinctiveness, which transports the user targeted foe and injects them with Borg nanoprobes. Rather than forming a Borg drone when they fall, the nanoprobes simply collect their biological and technological data. This adds a stack of distinctiveness to the user, adding to their max health and energy damage. Stacks cap at 20, and at 10 stacks, assimilate distinctiveness also heals the user. At 20 stacks, it gains area of effect and deals its damage much faster. That's an interesting kind of weapon, but it sounds like you have to use it in a dual capacity. You have to shoot them with it and then go over and palm strike them so you can nanoprobe them. Kind of takes a lot of time when you just want to kill a bunch of people. That was a long read, and thank you for staying by with me while I read through all that. I can't believe I did all that, but that is the Borg Lock Box. That's what you can expect out of the Borg Lock Box. So we're not getting Borg ships, but we are getting the Juggernaut ship, that one ship. I don't know how good it is. I've, of course, not used it yet, so I have no idea, but there it is. Now, some of the other stuff that's in the Borg Lock Box is very appealing. If you were role-playing and creating a Borg character in this game, or a liberated Borg character, it seems like now we can much better use Borg powers. So we can really construct and roleplay a Borg character in this game a lot better now. We have Borg powers that we can use, but you have to get them from the lockbox. That's the only thing, and that means opening random chance lockboxes. Let's talk about the Juggernaut itself, because the stats have been released. Here is the ship. And there's a picture of it. The top-down view, see, it's just so ugly to me. But that's how it is, and that's how it was in the show. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Its design does not make sense. But there it is. Let's just go over the ship details. Tier 6, any faction, complete the tutorial. Hull modifier 1.35, shield modifier 1.45. So it's got a lot of shield strength instead of hull strength. 4 weapons is 5. Aft weapons is 3. Not a lot of aft weapons. I'm surprised by that. You would think there would be more aft weapons. Device slots 3. 1 commander tactical / command. So it's a commander tactical. So this is a tactically inclined ship. 1 lieutenant tactical miracle worker, 1 lieutenant commander engineering, 1 lieutenant commander universal, and 1 ensign universal. It's not an engineering ship as much as I thought it would be. It's more of a tactical ship, but I bet it turns slow. It's got 5 tactical console slots, 4 engineering, and 2 science. Yeah, the base turn rate's 5. This ship turns slow. Impulse modifier 0.15, inertia 60, plus 10 to weapon, plus 10 to shield. Console is a universal disruptive topological matrix. It's got inspiration abilities, turn the tide against all odds, battle preparation, a plasma disintegrator. It's got the Juggernaut Starship Mastery Package, which is more critical chance, more critical severity, hull regeneration, all damage, and the Starship trait called Enhanced Nanite Regeneration. So the disruptive topological matrix, based on the original matrix that freed Hugh from the Borg Collective, this collection of matrices has been adapted to overwhelm a wide variety of logic processing approaches. When activated, this console deals significant plasma damage to several nearby enemies and inflicts a viral disruption on them for a short duration, which causes plasma damage and attacks subsystems of vulnerable starships while present. The console additionally provides a boost to plasma damage and hull regeneration. You may equip this console on any ship and any saw, blah, blah, blah. So you will want a plasma build for this ship. Starship trait Enhanced Nanite Regeneration. This starship comes with enhanced regenerative nanites in its hull that amplify any repair efforts made to the starship. After achieving level 5 in the liberated Borg Juggernaut mastery, you will unlock the enhanced Nanite Regeneration Starship trait. While the trait is slotted, when you activate a captain or bridge officer heal on yourself, you will gain a significant boost to hull regeneration for a short duration. The boost will increase in value the more hull your starship is missing. This buff will not stack. And then you have the innate ability called the Plasma Disintegrator. The Liberated Borg Command Juggernaut features an innate Plasma Disintegrator ability. When activated, your starship fires a massive plasma bolt at your target that deals intense plasma damage to any foes it passes near while it chases its target. It detonates upon reaching its target, dealing devastating amounts of plasma damage to everything nearby. Additionally, any foes who come into contact with either this bolt or the explosion will disintegrate upon defeat, instead of the normal violent explosion of a warp core breach. So that's all the specs on the Juggernaut. You know what the one thing this Juggernaut is missing? That's right, it's the subspace transwarp ability that this ship has. Remember, this ship had a unique transwarp ability in the show. It was able to create a window, an opening, a tear into a transwarp conduit, or create a transwarp conduit, or whatever it was doing, and travel in transwarp very fast. Remember that ability it had? It would be really cool if they could replicate that ability for just this ship. Like, it would obviously have slipstream or whatever, or maybe it doesn't have slipstream. In fact, rip that off, and instead of it slipstreaming, give it this transwarp ability where it like tears open, a space, enters and travels through transwarp while you're in sector space. And so instead of like slipstream speed, you're in transwarp speed, and it's really fast. Make it really fast. Make it, twice as fast of any slipstream or whatever. That would make it really unique. It needs that ability to separate it just a little bit more, because that was an ability it had in the TV show. That was one of its very unique abilities, was its ability to do that. So if it had that in the game, that would be very fitting. But there you go. That's all the specs of the ship. So if that is an interest to you, go for the Borg Lock Box. The Borg Lock Box may not be everything everyone was expecting, because I know people want to fly Borg cubes and spheres and all that, although it just doesn't make a lot of sense in the game to do that. But there's been stranger things that have happened, like flying J.J. Abrams Enterprises and Discovery ships in the game in the 25th century. So I guess you never know, right? You just never know. So there you go. That's the Borg Lock Box. If you are role-playing a Borg character, this could be a benefit to you, because you could really deck it out with a lot of Borg powers and Borg things, make it look Borg, and just totally do a whole Borg thing here. And it's tempting me to do it. I might roll a character, a liberated Borg character, just to deck it out with Borg stuff with the Borg Lock Box. That actually sounds like a lot of fun to me. So we'll see what happens. But there you go. That is what is in the game. Have fun with that. If you get this Juggernaut, let us all know what you think of it, because I'm very interested in what people actually think of this ship, using it and flying it in-game. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next one. Check out Twitter at Brent_Justice for updates. You can follow me there. Also, check out my Patreon page, patreon.com/Brent Justice. This helps support the channel and also allows me to publish more and more videos.